If you want to trade for DPS as a Rune-keeper, then Redline is by far the best way to go. And in this video I will show you, in my opinion, the best way to trade as in Red Fire RK. Before I go into the traits themselves, you can see here at the starting menu that by going Redline you get Searing Words. Fire skills have a 20% chance to apply a bleed to a target. Once you're fully traded as an RK and you have the extreme heat set bonus, you can now get the Searing procs at tier 0 before you put any writs. Wait for it to proc. There it is. It's just a Searing Words. If you have a tier 1 Rid of Fire, you can now get a Searing proc tier 1. Same goes for Rid of Fire tier 2. You can now proc the tier 2 version. Right there. A bit stronger. If you really want to pay attention to this, you just DPS until you get first Searing proc. Then you apply your tier 1 writ. Keep DPSing until you get Searing. You move up to tier 2 to get Searing. And then when this procs, you just go tier 3 and keep going from there. It'll give you a nice boost to your starting DPS if you do this. And one important thing to note, that if you have several RKs in the group, these Searing procs will not stack. So if you have 4 RKs on tier 3 Rid of Fire, only one of them can proc the Searing Words. Starting at the top, you have Deliberate Address, plus 5% tactical damage. Of course you want that, more damage. Next up, you have Conflagration of Runes. Increases the damage of your Fiery Ridicule skill. Fiery Ridicule puts a bleed on a target for 10 seconds. It's single target, but if you trade all points into this and apply, it'll now hit max targets 3. So it's now AoE. So if you want to trade for single target damage, you would only put 4 points into this. But for the most damage, you want to go 5. Next is Overflowing Confidence. Self-motivation is always good to have as like a little panic heal if you get low. I would suggest putting all points into that. On the next line you have Tail of Rage. When you trade points into Tail of Rage, you will get a stacking buff on yourself every time you use a fire skill. You can look at it right now. There it is, Tail of Rage tier 2, and every time I use it, it tiers up all the way to tier 5. And it'll just keep getting refreshed at tier 5 as long as you keep using fire skills. And this of course is really good for an RK, and you want to keep this up. Next up you have Essence of Flame, a really strong attack that you really want to have, so I would trade this. On the next line you have the Volcanic Runestone, which I will skip for now. Come back to it. Explosive Rhetoric. More damage for Essence of Flame, of course, why not? You want to get more damage. If you want it to be AoE, you can increase the number of targets by trading into this. Which makes Essence of Flame affect up to 3 targets, just like Fire Ridicule. But it's important to remember, if you want to trade single target, you do not touch this trait right here. If you want to go single target, you only do 4 out of 5 into Conflagration, and you don't touch this. The next line, Thick Skinned, more Fizz mitigation, always good to have. Next is Hastened Determination. Self-motivation right now has an induction for me. You can see if I use it, and I cannot use it as I move. But if you trade all points into Hastened Determination, the induction is gone and you can use it on the fly whenever you want. You put all points into this. Molten Flame is a must-have. Molten Flame reduces the target's armor rating trade old points into it and you attack an enemy, you will see the Molten Flame debuff. There it is. Minus 15% target armor rating. And this, of course, is a must-have for any RK. On the next line, you have Mystifying Flames. Another debuff you can apply to a target is Mystifying Flames. Minus 15% fire mitigations. It's a 30% chance to apply. So I'll just try using some fire skills. It should come up pretty soon. There it is. Flames, and combined with Molten Flame, reduces a lot of armor rating on the target. Makes RKs really strong, which can only be good since you're doing fire damage. You should put all points into this. Next is Scathing Mockery. Scathing Mockery is a bleed that takes for a long time. It's AoE with an 8-meter radius, so you need to be careful if you want to be single target build with this, but there's nothing close, because if you use it on this target, it'll also go to these two targets. Next up is Afterburn, increased fire damage, must have for an RK. Empowering Flame, another buff for yourself is the Empowering Flame. Whenever you proc the Mystifying Flame, you will also get an induction buff for yourself. Let's wait for the Mystifying to proc. There it is. You can see Empowering Flame on yourself. All the way at the bottom, you find Combustion, which is the RK's big major AoE skill. Must have to do massive AoE damage. You have Branded Marks. More ticks on your bleeds is always going to give you more DPS. Right now SF Fire takes 3 times over 6 seconds. But if you trade Branded Marks, you'll get 2 more pulses, which means it'll take for 10 seconds, 5 pulses, and every other fire skill, including Searing Words, will get 2 extra pulses. And this is also why some RKs choose to use all sets for more pulse. If you have the old Oscilius set or are using Throne sets, Essay of Fire could take for 14 seconds, and every other bleed would take for more. Personally, I'm not using any old sets on my RK, and my DPS is still pretty good, because I get a lot of crit magnitude. If you go for those old sets, you will be a lot squisher and your stats won't be as high. Now going back to the runestone for a second. This is something you might want to trade if you have a leftover point from trading in yellow or blue. It's pretty useful just putting 1 point into this and just popping it to build your attunement, because you get 3 fire attunement for this. Okay, next up I'm just going to look at blue line. You have at the top Determination, which gives you almost 5,000 will. If you have the points, I would suggest getting this. Now for blue, there's not really anything else worth getting here. I'm just going to move over to yellow line. At the top here, you have extra crit defense. And it's better than whatever these two give you, so I would get 5 points into that. On the next line, plus 5% crit chance. Of course you want that. More crit equals more damage. And next to it, you have almost 5,000 fate. It's more crit, more power regen, which is good for your RK. And if, like me, you have all 92 points, after trading like this, I still have 3 points left, which means I can put one thing into yellow or blue. And lately I've just been putting Epic Conclusion because I like the skill. And I have 1 point left. I just put it into the runestone just to have it, because I have nowhere else to put it. And finally we can look at the set bonus you get for every 5 points you put into your red line. At the top you have Fire Affinity. This gives you more damage, more fire damage. Next is rid of blazing fire. Get rid of fire that can be tiered from 1, 2, 3, now tiers down, instead of just dispelling. So if you were to have a rid of fire on tier 3 without this, it would just disappear after the bleed wore off. But with this, it'll tier down to tier 2 rid of fire, and then to tier 1. But since you're using rid of fire a lot, it doesn't really matter. Next up, you have Scathing Retort. It makes your Smoldering Wrath cooldown reduced by 5 seconds, and it cannot be interrupted. Next is Essay of Fire, a really powerful skill. I like calling this your second Smoldering. It's one of your strongest skills, and whenever it's off cooldown, you should pretty much always use this. And next you have Master of Connotation. Using a fire skill will put a stacking buff on the Rune-keeper. At 5 stacks, your next rid of fire will heal morale, and it has no induction. Extreme Heat, Searing Words damage is increased by 10% for each tier rid of fire. And at the bottom we have Seething Truth. It increases Essay of Fire's initial damage. Smoldering Wrath damage is increased, and using Combustion on a target will spread the rid of fire to all enemies that are hit by this combustion. So this build, in my opinion, is pretty straightforward and simple. I know some arcades have experimented going into yellow to get the harsh debate, get some more damage by using their lightning skills, but I found it too tedious to do that. If you want to get this, you could probably give up some stuff in red, like mitigations or self-motivation stuff. That's the end of the video. Hopefully it helped. Leave a like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.